Oh boy, another Fallout run. I sure hope war has changed.
War never changes.
Damn it. I had considered doing a standard unarmed Fallout 4 run, but I'm sure that's been done several times over. So instead, we up the ante and do it without any gear whatsoever. The narrative conceit is that following the warp in the West, a different version of Chipmunk got sent to an alternate timeline, into a strange retro future where he awoke inside a metal tube, witnessing a group of people kidnapping a baby and killing the baby's mother.
At least we still have the backup.
I installed a mod that activates some unused dialogue options and lets you play as not Nate. You don't have to be the baby's father. Sorry, Mari. This run required a bit of theory crafting, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that this isn't my first attempt. My first go-over is on the VOD channel if you want to watch it. Our special spread, not to be confused with Chipmunk's special spread, is 9 strength, 2 charisma, 9 agility, and 5 luck. Everything else is 1. Strength because it directly affects unarmed damage, 2 charisma so we're closer to the Lone Wanderer perk, 9 agility for the Blitz perk, and 5 luck for the Idiot Savant perk. I'll explain the reasoning for these perks in more detail as we unlock them. So while we disassemble the entirety of Sanctuary for spare parts and spam shelves for XP, let me briefly explain how this all will work. By equip, I mean anything that we put on our body or in our hands. Or in our body, but this isn't that kind of game. Armor, weapons, grenades, mines, that's equipment. Companions, not equipment, but using them would be too simple, so aside from quest mandatory companions, they're not allowed. Since we can't equip anything, and before you say what about the Pip-Boy, just don't worry about it, because we can't equip anything, we're going to have to be as deliberate as possible with our perk choices. That is the only form of progression we're going to have. To cushion the impact of any mistakes that totally won't happen, we want to focus heavily on gaining XP. More XP means more levels, means more perks. While pulling apart the wreckage of a life once mollified by the power of propaganda, we find a magazine. You're special. This magazine allows us to put 1 special point into one of our special attributes, so we put it into Charisma, bringing us up to 3. This will allow us to take the Lone Wanderer perk when we have a spare perk point for it. But the very first perk we want to get is Idiot Savant. We have a random chance to receive 3 times more XP from any action. The chances increasing the lower our intelligence. With 1 intelligence, it has an 11% chance to trigger. For shelves, which only grant 2 XP each, it's not all that much. But for quests, it's game-changing, especially since you can save before gaining the XP and continuously reload until the effect triggers. Is it a bug? No, definitely not. Is it an exploit? Debatable. Is it cheese? Oh, without question. Personally, I like to think of it as a clever use of game mechanics. Besides shelves, we also want to have a decent supply of water waiting for us every time we return to Sanctuary. Purified water isn't as good as stim packs for healing, it doesn't fix injured limbs, but with enough purifiers running, we'll have a near-endless supply. It's good for spam healing, there's no animation to use it, and if your limbs aren't broken, why waste a stim pack? If you want, you could disassemble the shelves after you build them, and get back 50% of the materials. A wood shelf costs 2 wood, breaking it down gives you 1. Same with metal shelves, but with metal instead of wood, hence the reason why the words are different. But that takes a long time. Alternatively, you could build them on top of a framed picture. Since the shelves violate Pauli's exclusion principle, they can coexist in the same point in spacetime. That is, all on top of a single picture. You disassemble the picture, and the shelves disappear. You want to do this so the shelves don't eat up your settlement's object limit. Why didn't I do this? Because I didn't know about the limit. I assumed that size bar was related to the population, not to stuff. Shows how frequently I interacted with settlements beyond their pragmatic contributions to my playthroughs. After building a bunch of shelves, we hit level 10 and have 9 perk points to spend. 2 ranks of Iron Fists, of course. Punching attacks do 40% more damage and can disarm your opponents. That disarming effect will simultaneously be a boon and a bane. Lone Wanderer, while adventuring without a companion, we take 15% less damage and our carry weight is increased by 50. Without armor, any innate damage reduction is critical. Blitz. VAT's melee distance is increased significantly. Ninja. Range sneak attacks deal 2.5 times normal damage, and melee sneak attacks deal 4 times normal damage. Now if you've done an unarmed run, don't spoil it, but this was a mistake. Not as big of a mistake, however, as taking the 2nd rank. We take the first 2 ranks of sneak, we're now 30% harder to detect while sneaking, and no longer trigger floor-based traps. And finally, toughness. Instantly gain plus 10 damage resistance. If you aren't aware of how damage resistance works in Fallout 4, then you're in good company. I don't know the formula, but I do know 10 points of damage will be reduced by 50% if you have 10 points of damage resistance. But the behavior is asymptotic. Even if you have 1000 points of damage resistance, it'll only reduce 10 points of damage by 91%. It ain't like damage threshold in earlier Fallouts, unfortunately. I used to not like it, but I've come around. In a typical run, Codsworth would tell you to look for Sean, your kidnapped son, in Concord, the city not too far southeast of Sanctuary. Our motivation, with the Not Dad mod, is born merely out of intrigue, I guess. We saw a kid get kidnapped. Do you really think Chipmunk is just going to leave those loose ends untied? Luckily, Codsworth mistook us for someone else and said we may have luck finding our family in Concord. On the way there, we run into Man's best friend, Dogmeat, and the funny thing about this good boy is that he doesn't negate the Lone Wanderer perk. He could come along with us, be our companion, and we would still get the perk's benefits. But I already said no companions, so head on back to Sanctuary, little pup. You'll be safer there. The gas station does double as another settlement, by the way. Now it's time to see how the combat's gonna go. We get a crew of bandits attacking the Concord Museum of Freedom. Without using VATS, our punches seem to deal about a fifth the bandits' health as damage. So our damage throughput isn't that great. But because our somewhat weak punches can knock their weapons out of their hands rather reliably, we lower their damage output, evening the playing field. In fact, they probably don't have unarmed perks, so our punches are stronger than theirs. The drawback is, now that they're forced into unarmed combat, they're able to block, serving no purpose except wasting our time. This is why VATS is great for melee. Not only does Blitz let us clear the distance faster, but enemies aren't able to block while we're VATSing them. The biggest problem with VATS melee is how goofy the camera is. Unfortunately, the strength of our punches is irrelevant. We're incredibly squishy. Doesn't matter how fast we can kill a man, if they can kill us first. Running headfirst into a crowd of people with guns is not a good strategy. Stealth. Stealth is a good idea. We do triple damage attacking from stealth. You would think, because we have the ninja perk, that we would do 4 times damage, but unarmed attacks don't count as melee attacks for some reason. I will, of course, not realize this until I take the second rank of this perk. There is one detail about unarmed combat that no other build can beat. Uppercut, level up. Idiot Savant rank 2. When the perk triggers, it multiplies our XP gain by 5 times instead of 3. With all the raiders dead, the settlers holed up inside the museum will unlock the door and have a word with us. Everyone's favorite Radiant NPC, Preston Garvey, explains that this ragtag group used to be much less ragtag and much less dead. The Minutemen were once composed of an impressive 20 people a month ago. My god, how could one compete? Now they're down to 5. And to make matters worse, more raiders are on their way. So Sturgis suggests we salvage a suit of power armor from the crashed vertibird on the roof. Obviously, that counts as equipment, so we can't put it on. But, I mean, how hard could a few bandits be, right? Okay, playing coy is fun, but sometimes I don't want to be a fish. I know what you're thinking. How are we going to deal with the Deathclaw? Bethesda placed a Deathclaw in Concord specifically to teach the player how effective power armor can be, and how strong both Deathclaws and miniguns are. What are we going to do with our itty-bitty flesh mazes? Well, like I'd mentioned, this isn't my first attempt at this run. I had discovered, with a bit of luck and persistence, you can lure the Deathclaw toward the church next door to the museum and get it stuck in that very door. Then, you can slowly whittle it down with VATS, retreating into the church when you run out of AP, and letting it replenish. And while this is happening, Preston is taking pot shots at it with his laser musket. It takes a while, but it's doable. Or, it could be hit by a car nuke, crippling its limbs, and then get Bethesda'd. I don't know what happened. I don't even. That's Chipmunk's uppercuts are. That's the power of a monk of Dibella, baby. You know, they call them uppercuts because those are the cuts medieval typesetters would keep in their top drawers. Threat averted, we return to Preston Garvey and agree to meet him back in Sanctuary. But before heading out, Mama Murphy has some words to share with us.
My destiny? What do you mean?
You're a man out of time.
You can say that again.
You're a man out of time, out of hope. But all's not lost. I can feel your destiny.
Chipmunk is no stranger when it comes to a wise woman's promulgations about destiny. The results can be mixed, at best, but he did become immortal that one time, so it's probably worth looking into. Head to the great green jewel of the Commonwealth, she says. Head to Diamond City. Go to Fenway Park, kid. Gotta claim our XP first. Talking to Preston back in Sanctuary completes When Freedom Calls, awarding 340 points of experience. But if we quick save before the quest complete flag is tripped, we can repeatedly reload until Idiot Savant triggers, turning that 340 into 1700. It's almost enough experience to get 2 levels. Mysterious Stranger could be fun. I've never used it before. The Mysterious Stranger will appear occasionally in VATS to lend a hand, with deadly efficiency. Basically, we have a 10% chance to instantly kill a target at the end of a round of VATS. I should have looked that up at the time though. I thought it had a chance to trigger with each individual attack. Oh well. In our hunt for more levels, rather than heading straight for Diamond City, we instead help the Minutemen by helping settlers. The quests Preston gives out, you know, the radiant ones that you don't have to do but everyone complains about for some reason, they don't give a ton of XP, but they're simple enough. And if we want to side with the Minutemen, we have to do a few. They are still technically optional, you don't have to join the Minutemen to beat the game. Simply walking to 10 Pines Bluff got us enough XP for another level. We put this perk into rank 2 of toughness. We now have base 20 damage resistance. The settlers here need the raiders at the Corvega assembly plant cleared out.
Kidding me? Lost him.
The turrets are a bit tricky for a melee build, but they're easy enough to avoid. We kill the raiders' leader, the villainous Jared, tell the settlers the good news, and return to Gravy for our save-scummed XP. Garvey. I wrote that wrong. 2 levels this time. Rank 3 of Sneak makes us 40% harder to detect, and we no longer trigger enemy mines. Fantastic, because I'm basically an NPC that walks face first into everything. Also rank 1 of Rooted. While standing still, we gain 25 damage resistance, and our melee and unarmed damage deal 25% more damage. It does work in VATS, but I'm sure it works in a janky way. But more damage and defense is never a bad thing, even if it's not reliable. The second settlement Garvey sends us to is the Starlight Drive-In. Kill some mole rats, loot the workshop key, build a radio beacon, and return to Sanctuary. The settlers at Oberlin Station want us to secure the Sunshine Tidings Co-op. Kill the ghouls, rip the place apart for materials, and back to Preston. Sanctuary's looking a bit green around the gills. I'm sure it's fine. Because we've helped spread the word of the Minutemen's reformation, Preston feels they're ready to retake the castle down in Southie. I know it's waiting for us there, and I don't think we can handle it just yet, so we'll set that on the back burner for now, while we get stronger. Also, I did the tutorial quest for rebuilding Sanctuary, got to level 16, and wasted a perk on rank 2 of Ninja. Really wish perk resets were a thing. I don't know why Ninja doesn't affect unarmed damage, that's stupid. To make our punches pack more of a punch, we're gonna get the Strength Bubblehead. We'll find it in downtown Boston, past the wreck of the USS Riptide, just over the Charles River. We skirt around the Common, go past the State House, punch a few super mutants, take a detour and knock out a few raider scavvers. The mysterious stranger even showed up to help. The mass fusion building is secured by a crew of gunner conscripts. Even with a sneak attack, we do barely more than a third of their health and damage, so the climb up this tower will be more of a slow ascent, rather than a Doom Guy rampage. Discovering this location did push us to level 17 though, unlocking rank 2 of Lone Wanderer, increasing our damage reduction from 15 to 30%. The gunners do deal a fair bit of damage, but they also do tend to drop a stim pack or two, so it evens out. Yeesh. What jackass uses a rocket launcher in close quarters? Haha, dumbass. Oh, disarmed. Fantastic. At the tippity top of the mass fusion building, before the final boss of the dungeon, we find the Strength Bobblehead perched precariously on the top of this overhanging statue. Our damage is now 28, when standing still. Time to put it to the test and kill the Gunner Commander without dying a single time.
Shit!
This calls for drugs. Buff out and psycho.
Bring it!
Still pretty awful. Oh, he's gonna self-destruct. Whew. He survived? Ah, but his suit broke. Time for a fair fight. Weak. I think that's proof enough that we can handle a bit more of the main quest. Time to visit the Jewel of the Commonwealth, Fenway Park. I should clarify, I'm originally from Boston, if you didn't already know. Grew up in Eastie, not far from the Orient Heights train station. I could see the airport from our back porch. Spent my formative years just huffing jet fuel fumes. The accent is real. I downplay it most of the time. Go to my older videos, you can hear it way more. In a normal playthrough of Fallout 4, you'd come to Diamond City, chat with Piper, and she would point you to Nick Valentine, Fenway's local dick. But to speed things up,
They never just want to talk.
I'm not one for small talk. Nick Valentine's office appears to be devoid of Nick Valentine, but his secretary Ellie has a lead for us. Skinny Malone's gang had kidnapped a woman, and Nick tracked them down to their hideout in Park Street Station. Ellie's convinced he walked straight into a trap. Fortunately for her, Chipmunk's got some wicked traps of his own. Gonna give Skinny's goons the old 1-2. And also punch him. Back in high school, I used to take the blue and green lines to and from school most days. Park Street was, and still is, a hub station that connects the green line and the red line. And it's probably one of the most confusing train stations in the entire MBTA system. And mind you, that is a very competitive title. The green line is trolleys, and in some parts in and around Boston, they run above ground, basically in the center of the road. You know, how trolleys do. But because of that, they're designed to not need a train platform. Certainly not a very high one. The rails are ground level, so Park Street didn't have little recesses the trains ran through. It just felt like a chaotic open floor plan of a station. But don't get me started on Downtown Crossing. This is all to say, Fallout 4's Park Street looks nothing like the real one. It's even got the wrong number on the vault. After punching dozens of triggermen to death, we eventually find one of Skinny's goons, Dino, taunting Nick Valentine through a locked door. Is there a way to talk Dino down from his aggression? Maybe, but I never bothered trying. Come on, drop the gun. Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Good. Dude, we stop blocking. Vats it is. What the hell was... Oh, the mysterious stranger. Excellent timing. By DeBella, a robot man. So Nick is a synth, a synthetic humanoid built by the Enigmatic Institute. But he's one of the older models. That means he's had software updates that makes his battery run out in like friggin' 3 hours. God damn it, I hate phones. The newer ones are completely indistinguishable from humans, at least from the outside. Robot or not, if he can help us track down this kidnapped kid, he's worth rescuing. Besides, would you leave a perfectly good appliance sitting on the side of the road? Of course not. If I saw a KitchenAid stand mixer just sitting out on a sidewalk, I'd take it. Those are like $400. Kidding me? Those things are like 50 pounds of cast iron. They don't break, you just didn't fix it right. A legendary triggerman. You can tell he's legendary because of the stink lines. Can't use the unique loot he drops though, but we can sell it for drugs. Yeah, so the girl Nick was tracking down wasn't kidnapped. She actually just ran away with Skinny Malone's gang. It's quite the sordid tale. Everyone dies.
Valentine.
Once we're out of the subway, we save scum the XP drop and hit level 18, the level required for the next rank of Iron Fist. Punching attacks now do 60% more damage, and unarmed power attacks have a chance to cripple one of your opponent's limbs. Power attacks are a bit janky in Fallout 4. You don't hold the attack button, as you would in Oblivion or Skyrim. Instead, you press your melee bash button, the same button you use to bonk an enemy on the head with your gun. I swear half the time, the game just decides to ignore that input completely. I'd rather use my AP on VATS. Back at Nick's office in Diamond City, we go over the details of the kidnapping, describing the culprit as bald with a scar across his left eye. Only one person in the entire Commonwealth could be bald and have a facial scar. It must be the mercenary Kellogg, in his tasty cereal. He just so happens to have an apartment right here in Diamond City. I could excuse this level of happenstance in a fantasy game, Destiny or whatever, but in Fallout, it's hard to suspend my disbelief. The machine we rescued just so happens to be the mystery bad guy's neighbor? Come on. It's like there's some third party orchestrating all this. We go up to Mayor McDonough's office, speak to his secretary Geneva, bribe her to get a JPEG of the key to Kellogg's apartment. Seriously, it's straight up a regular ass key but huge. And then we get to searching the place. There's a very inconspicuous button under his desk. Pushing it reveals... I know it's low hanging fruit to call this a goon cave, but what the hell else is this room? It's just a chair with some shelves. I guess it's where he smokes? I guess a cigar is just a cigar? Because Kellogg's tobacco tastes are unique, we can use his leftover San Francisco sunlights and dog meat sniffer to follow the path he took out of Diamond City. But before taking our pup on a walk, we return to Sanctuary and check on our water farm. 86 helpings of that delicious 2 billion-year-old water. It heals 40 points of health over 10 seconds. Not trivial. Going back to Diamond City and meeting Dogmeat there actually completes yet another quest. One I forgot to save before, but we lucked out and got the Idiot Savant perk to trigger anyway. That's another level. Crits have been pretty useful thus far, so I think we'll start throwing the next few levels of perk points directly into the luck attribute. There's a perk at level 9 luck that could be helpful. Following Dogmeat out of Diamond City takes us out west, past Alston, through Newton, you could tell because of all the mole rats, and right into the path of a Yowie guy. Oh, I read that wrong. Whatever, it's a mutated bear, but it's stunted, so it's more like an otter. The stingwings are a pain in the ass, but that's just what happens when you go to Western Mass. Jokes aside, I gotta give Bethesda props for their world design in Fallout 4. Yeah, there's criticism to be laid regarding how dilapidated the world still is 200 years later, but that's not what I mean. Even though the Commonwealth looks nothing like the Boston metropolitan area, it still captures the spirit of the place. I can't quite describe it. Have you ever had to grab your phone from a pile of other phones? You couldn't describe it to someone, but once you see it, you know it's yours. The same is true for, like, shoes and jackets. There's a quality. There are minor details that are imperceptible to anyone who's not already familiar with the thing in question. Fallout 4's Boston is just like that. It feels like Boston. All that's missing is the guy wearing a Red Sox sweatshirt, gym shorts, and flip-flops in the middle of February while standing outside a liquor store with a cigarette hanging out of his top lip. And the cigarette is never lit.
Kellogg's still out there. We've got to track him, boy.
The scent trail ends at Fort Hagen, and judging by the automated defenses, there may be a person of interest within. Inside the fort are several synths, old models not unlike Nick Valentine, but these ones are naked. I didn't anticipate this, but synths are probably the most obnoxious enemies to fight within melee distance. Their Three Stooges attack, a punch to the gut and a fist to the top of the noggin, is so quick that I can never quite time the block, and when I recover from the stagger and ready a punch of my own, the bastards do it again. It may just be worth joining the Institute so we don't have to fight any more of them. It took some doing, but with copious amounts of purified water and quite a few stim packs, we punched our way into the lower levels of the fort, where we now hear a familiar disembodied voice speak to us.
Come, Nerevar, friend or traitor, come.
Kellogg gives us the typical villain monologue. I didn't expect you to make it this far. You got guts, kid. Tell you what, you turn around right now, and I'll let you walk out of here alive. And as we all know, bad guys only let you do that when they don't feel threatened.
So, the boy? Where is he?
Wow, I hate this out of context. It's here that we learn that Sean, the protagonist's son, not Chipmunk's son, is with the Institute, but not even Kellogg knows how to get there, which is kind of a good thing because that means we can kill him without losing sensitive information.
But I think we've been talking long enough. We both know how this has to end. So, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Question is, are you?
Hold on, wait, I'm not ready. I need drugs. Psycho for increased damage and resistance, Med-X for more resistance, and Buff Out for strength, endurance, and health. Kellogg likes to use a stealth boy, making it impossible to vats him to death, but once his synth bodyguards are dead, you can just stun lock him with punches until his invisibility wears off. His blood splatter helps you locate him. Once dead, we learn his body is decked out with several cybernetic upgrades, including a brain augmenter, which we just pluck off of his brainstem. His terminal confirms he did, in fact, hand Sean over to the Institute. Why would he lie in his own encrypted logs? Perhaps Nick has an idea where we can go from here. Who the hell is this?
We are the Brotherhood of Steel.
Oh, they heard me. Thanks to Piper's folksy brains blown out comment, it gives Nick an idea. Dr. Amari at the Memory Den in Goodneighbor may be able to extract information from Kellogg's cybernetic implants. No guarantees, but it's worth a shot. Nick will meet us there. Goodneighbor is situated in what would have been Scully Square. That entire portion of Boston was leveled in the 60s, the 1960s, and replaced with the modern government hub that's there today. including the Government Center train station, where you can connect between the green and blue lines. I don't know if this is still there. It's been a while since I've even been in Boston. But there were still some chunks of Scully Square left over, and in some parts of the Government Center train station, underground, you could see old mosaic tile signs that say Scully under. Anyway, good neighbor. A city built on ultimate freedom, founded by criminals exiled from Diamond City, and then reworked when the ghouls were exiled from Diamond City. Hancock enacted a coup against the head crime boss of this place, and instilled a of the people, for the people kind of rule.
Come on, man. This is me we're talking about. Let me tell you something.
Unless you're this guy. The mayor can just stab you to death in the middle of the street. So, still a might makes right kind of town. Freedom. Since we've got a couple merchants here, we do a little business, selling useless equipment and ammo, and buying meds and drugs. But also, we buy some miscellaneous garbage with fiber optic components. See, I haven't been too careful with avoiding radiation, but there's an easy fix for that. Back in Sanctuary, we construct a rad scrubber. A rad scrubber. With just a little bit of electricity, it completely removes our radiation poisoning. It's just that easy. What did the Master even need prime normals for anyway? We bring Kellogg's cybernetics to Dr. Amari, and she recognizes the circuitry immediately. Because it's Institute tech, she could slot this piece of brain into Nick's digital brain, and we would be able to interface with Kellogg's memories. Science. This next bit is mostly backstory about Kellogg. He grew up in the founding days of the NCR, had an abusive father, a protective mother, and ended up falling into mercenary work. When he came to the Commonwealth, he was approached by the Institute and tasked with kidnapping a baby from Vault 111. While in his Diamond City apartment with what appears to be a 10-year-old Sean, Kellogg is given new marching orders. Track down a rogue Institute scientist by the name of Brian Virgil. He's out somewhere in the glowing sea, past Medfield and toward Milford. Because Kellogg will be preoccupied, the synth courser that delivered the mission specs takes Sean with him back to the Institute. And then the two explode in a blinding flash of light, revealing that the Institute uses teleportation. Or they kill their targets and just quickly 3D print a new version back at their HQ. So we gotta figure out how to access the Institute's teleporters. How apropos that the vision, which revealed that they have teleporters, is the very same vision that revealed there's a rogue scientist. But we're gonna need the help from one of the Commonwealth's factions first. We can't do this alone. Who would Chipmunk join up with? The Brotherhood of Steel? The last time he messed around with a giant robot, things got weird. The Railroad? Well, the first time I played Fallout 4, I did side with the Railroad. Because synths are basically enslaved people. Not humans, but close enough. Now, in recent years, I'm kinda sick of robots acting like people and trying to convince us that they aren't just a bunch of beeps and boops inside a warehouse full of RAM. Minutemen it is. A while ago, we got the quest to reclaim the castle down in Southie. We put it off because we weren't quite ready. I still don't think we are, but we won't know until we fail. Off the coast of the castle is Spectacle Island, and we actually want to go there first because that's where we'll find the luck bobblehead. And since we built that radiation scrubber, we can just swim there and take a quick shower afterwards. You can't do this in real life though. If you swim in the Boston Harbor, you'll probably get hepatitis. Oh, a Mirelurk King. We'll just ignore that. We find the luck bobblehead in a locker on a shipwreck on the southern edge of the island. Can you imagine how awful the wreck would have been if they didn't have a lucky bobblehead? Now that we have 9 luck, after putting a few levels worth of perk points into luck, the next time we level up, we can get the 4-leaf clover perk. Each hit in VATS has a chance of filling our crit meter. There are also other luck perks that increase the damage of our crits, so they should play together quite nicely. Pop over to Sanctuary, scrub the rads, return to the castle, begin the assault. A cadre of colossal crab curs have taken up residence in the castle, and we must dispose of them. Unfortunately, they resist most damage that isn't targeted at their soft underbellies, and the angle of our punches, VATS or otherwise, typically makes us hit them right in their armored shells. And punching those shells is like punching a blocking enemy. Our fists sorta bounce off. Were Preston Garvey not immortal, we'd be here for quite some time, chugging water and flailing helplessly. The Mirelurk Queen, on the other hand, although tanky and strong, constantly has her soft bits exposed, the tramp, and she isn't as obnoxious as a half-dozen Mirelurks pinching Chipmunk's cheeks. And his face. We just gotta make sure our health is topped up lest her poisonous goo finish us off. Whoa, that was basically from full health. Okay, don't take a direct hit from the claws. With the queen now dead, we talk to Garvey, get the radio beacon set up, forget to save before completing the quest, and end up only getting a couple hundred XP. Nonetheless, we leveled up, so we take the 4-leaf clover perk. Just for a little bit more XP, we do some settlement side quests. such as killing some raiders for Jake Abernathy, or claiming Outpost Zimonja for Preston. And this ends up being enough XP to get the first rank of better criticals, increasing crit damage by 50%, and rank 2 of 4-leaf clover. Now that the Minutemen have their own little base of operations, we should be good to head out to the Glowing Sea, get info from Virgil, and return to finish off the remaining parts of the main quest, with the Minutemen. Surely nothing will impede this plan. A few helpings of Rad-X later, and we arrive at the crater of Adam. The cultists here point us to a cave where we may find Virgil. He sometimes comes around to trade, but one must wonder how an Institute scientist could survive out here. Surely he isn't popping Rad-X like Tic Tacs, and he can't be as much of a lunatic as these Adam cultists. I can't imagine he doesn't understand the dangers of radiation. It's like if rocks were haunted. Radiation is ghosts. Well, actually, Fallout's radiation is more like magic. It just does whatever they need it to do. This is Virgil. He's a super mutant. He agrees to help us get into the Institute if we promise to fetch him the serum he was working on. It should reverse his super mutant mutation. Sure, totally. We're gonna do that. We will not forget about you, friend. The first thing we need is a Courser chip. Coursers are synths that act a bit like the Institute's hitmen. They're linked to the Institute via this chip and can teleport to and from the Institute at will. If we can get a chip, Virgil will help us construct the teleporter. Another level, another rank of toughness. Finding the Courser is simple enough. We gotta go to the old ruins of the Commonwealth Institute of Technology and tune the radio on our Pip-Boy to the classical music channel. Or we could just go to Green Tech Genetics. While we walk there, I want to talk a bit about super mutants. Or rather, Bethesda's super mutants. I feel Bethesda gets more flack regarding super mutants than they deserve. Maybe I'm just a Bethesda fanboy, and maybe my opinion doesn't matter because I'm always defending Bethesda. I never shit-talk these games, ever, I never have. So Virgil was the head of the Forced Evolution Virus Research Division at the Institute. One day, finally overcome with guilt over the suffering the Institute is causing, he decided to flee. To survive the radiation within the glow, he injected himself with FEV, becoming a super mutant, but not a dumb super mutant. Now, a criticism I hear about Fallout 3 and 4's super mutants is that they're basically just orcs. Big, dumb, giant monsters that are green. Counterpoint, that's not new. Most of the super mutants in Fallout 1 were dumb and orc-like. Only prime normals became smart super mutants, if they survived the dipping. Fallout 3's Vault 87 kinda implies that the default FEV sucks. It makes stupid super mutants. It wasn't until the Master started playing with it that it produced smart super mutants. Fallout 3's orc-like mutants, which also existed in Fallout 1, actually enhances the Master. It makes his mastery over the FEV more remarkable. So why is Virgil smart? Well, much like the Master, the Institute was tinkering with the FEV as well, but their results weren't quite the same. Virgil's intelligence is fleeting. He remarks that he's losing fine motor skills. And Swan in the Boston Common started out as an Institute janitor, got wicked smart, then regressed into what he is now. My ultimate point is, the FEV doesn't really have rules. Since Fallout 1, it's been a bit wishy-washy. FEV being predictable would ruin its mystique. It's literally a virus that forces evolution. It doing different things different ways in different scenarios is the least you should expect. One diatribe later, we arrive at Green Tech Genetics. We fight through a dozen or so gunners, and finally meet the Courser at the top-ish of the building. Coursers are typically strong, they have a fair bit of health, they use stim packs, turn invisible with stealth boys, all while dishing out a sizable amount of damage per second. But we're a dick, and we knock the gun out of his hands, so he's gotta fist fight us instead. Like Kellogg, we wedge him into a corner, so his invisible ass can't get away. And then we pummel him to death. Make sure to save before looting the Courser chip, because looting it is what completes the Hunter Hunted quest. With that level, we'll take rank 2 of better criticals. Criticals now do twice as much extra damage. We take the Courser chip to Dr. Amari, since she's the only brainologist we know, and she suggests we take it to the Railroad. They're the Commonwealth's resident expert on Institute technology because they believe toasters are people or something. If you don't know where the Railroad is, you're supposed to follow the Freedom Trail, which is a real thing in real life, by the way. Follow it through downtown Boston until it leads you to the Old North Church. Under the church, we fiddle with this little decoder ring, are reminded to always drink our Ovaltine, and then meet with the leader of the clandestine group, Desdemona. Words are exchanged, we tell them we killed a Courser, and that we'd be willing to give them the chip if they analyze it for us. I can only assume the Fallout universe never developed advanced cryptography. They were still using cathode ray tubes in 2077, so maybe math isn't their strong suit. Now that we have the unencrypted data off the chip, we fast travel back to Virgil's cave, and he gives us the teleporter schematics he promised. With what we got from the chip, we should be able to hijack the Institute's teleporter signal and trick it into thinking we're a Courser. And then we could dismantle it from within. Each piece of the teleporter requires a special item to build it. Not anything unique, just some uncommon components. We already happen to have all of them except for one. But now that we're on this quest, we can just follow the quest marker to the WRVR broadcast station and swipe the sensor module from the desk. We put together the final pieces of the teleporter, supply it with power, step on the platform, and...
Hold on to your butt!
Of course, I save scummed for more XP. Now let me let you in on a little secret. The first time I did this, I entered the Institute, retrieved data from the terminals for Sturges, and left without speaking to Father. This was a mistake. The quest after taking the castle, the quest you must do before you could beat the game with the Minutemen, requires you to test their artillery cannons. To do this, you must throw a smoke grenade, signaling the mortar strike. Do you see the problem? Throwing a smoke grenade is equipping an item. We can't do that. So, no Minutemen. We're gonna have to join the Institute. At least they could tell the difference between robots and people. Taking a page out of Kellogg's book, the disembodied voice subtitled Father speaks to us as we descend further into the compound. But rather than taunting and threatening us, he's trying to preemptively justify the Institute's actions. He shouldn't, I've already made my decision. Here's the kidnapped boy, the impetus for this whole adventure, an impetus that Chipmunk doesn't really understand. But him not understanding his motivation has never stopped him before.
Hi there.
Who are you?
It doesn't matter. What does is what you know about the Institute.
Father, what's going on? What's happening?
Come on, let me in.
Christ, that is really creepy when you're not Sean's dad. Also, we're naked.
Father, help me! He's trying to take me! Father, help me!
Sean. S923, recall code Cirrus.
He's a synth. See, if synths were people, you wouldn't be able to shut them off with words. For people, that requires blunt force trauma. Father reveals that he is Sean. He's the baby that was kidnapped from Vault 111. The first time we awoke from hibernative naptosis, when the child was kidnapped, wasn't 10 years prior to our second unfreezing, but 60 years. What a twist. All that nonsense with Kellogg and the 10-year-old Sean, the Sean that's unconscious in the glass behind us, it was all a convoluted plan to get us to find the Institute. I'm sure his reasons were too complicated for us to understand, or for Bethesda to bother explaining. I never shit-talk these games. Ever, I never have. Since we're joining the Institute, we first have to introduce ourselves to the various department heads around the place. And that's as simple as running to the nearest quest marker, spam-clicking through their dialogue, and running to the next one. With the meet and greet complete, we return to Father and get our first task: reclaim a rogue synth. Because the Institute's mission is ushering humanity into a new age via synths that aren't humans, they can't have the railroad-altered synths running amok. See, the railroad, with the help of Dr. Amari, wipe the memories of the synths and replace them with new, non-synth memories. Even they forget their synths, allowing them to more easily integrate into society, free from the Institute's control. Unfortunately, some go down a more dangerous path. The rogue synth is leading a bandit gang out on the floating settlement of the wrecked Libertalia. Our job is to go in, recite the synth's deactivation code, and get out, killing anyone who gets in our way. For the betterment of mankind, of course. The Libertalia is probably my favorite dungeon in Fallout 4. It's got such a unique design. Reminds me of Pacific Town in Pokemon Emerald. Totally impractical, but it's neat. Why is there always some schmuck playing with mini-nukes? Once we reach the top of the Libertalia, we initiate a factory reset, eliminate the remaining bandits, and return to the Institute. Greetings, Father. The world is now a safer place, thanks to me, man covered in blood. The next step in solidifying the Institute's power in the region is disrupting the railroad synth smuggling operations. The job is simple. Go to Bunker Hill, fight our way past the embattlements, and deactivate all the synths they've got hidden there. The accompanying courser will then teleport them back to the Institute for maintenance. The railroad was expecting our assault, and they called in reinforcements, but they're nothing a swift and Need of the Skull can't solve. Now that we're level 29, we can take the second rank of Blitz. Our VAT's melee distance is increased even further, and we do more damage based on how far away we blitzed into combat. Holy moly! Heavies aren't pushovers either. Under the monument is Gus Fring's nascent meth lab, but it's currently hosting an all-out brawl between railroad heavies and Institute synths. It takes a minute to whittle them all down, especially this Super Mario looking bastard, but our perk choices have made us decently resilient. It's just a matter of outlasting them. The basement synths seem to beg for mercy, but that's just a quirk of their programming, a quirk of their bug.
Come on, please. Just don't.
Turning in this quest isn't as simple as returning to Daddy and telling him the job is done. Instead, we gotta find him atop the CIT ruins, and that means fighting our way up from the ground floor through a bunch of super mutants. Once again, we have a squad of synths providing covering fire. On the roof, Father waxes philosophically about the state of the Commonwealth, coming to the conclusion that the fate of humanity rests with them, and them alone. Anyone who stands in their way will be eliminated. Anyway, we leveled up, and we're going to take Grim Reaper's Sprint. Any killing blow in VATS has a 25% chance to restore all action points. Before taking direct action against the other factions within the Commonwealth, we must first sort out a few pressing matters regarding the future of the Institute. First, we must get their nuclear reactor up and running. More power will make the Institute even more self-reliant. Secondly, Father is dying, a rare disease called baby freezeoliosis. No one knows how he contracted it. In Bethesda fashion, because we were the most recent addition to this faction, the role of leadership falls upon us. Although to be fair, in Bethesda games, only the protagonist seems capable of doing anything, so it makes sense to make us the leader.
Possibly justify this. He isn't one of us. He isn't even a scientist.
Ignoring your borderline insubordinate tone, I will simply say this. The Institute has enough scientists. What it needs is a leader. He has already proven himself more than capable in that regard. This will conclude this meeting. Thank you.
To get the reactor up and running, we need to return to the mass fusion building in downtown Boston and get the beryllium agitator. Instead of going in from the ground floor this time, we have to teleport in from the top and fight our way down through the Brotherhood of Steel. The elevator part of this descent is a bit stressful. They're all shooting at us, and we can't help but cower in the corner. This quest isn't very melee friendly. The knight thinks he's slick, thinks his superhero landing will save him. That's the power of a Muckadabella, baby. I'm just gonna run away. The reactor, painted Cherenkov blue. We gotta go into the reactor, remove the agitator, and get out before the radiation kills us. Is there a radiation suit somewhere? Probably, but every safety guide I've read about surviving a nuclear war almost always starts with getting to cover and removing the clothes you are wearing when you are exposed to the radiation. So starting without clothes just seems to make more sense. Even with Rad-X, we gotta book it. I can't imagine the beryllium agitator not being more radioactive than the room, but I guess it's fine, we'll just put it in our pocket. Shockingly, the security robots that activate upon the reactor being shut down don't put up too much of a fight. I expected the sentry bot to require at least a few rounds of VATS. Back at the Institute, we level up once again and take rank 2 of Grim Reaper Sprint. The next few quests are mostly just busy work. Institute goons came to T.S. Wallace's settlement in order to recruit him, but he jumped the gun and called for Minutemen reinforcements. Because we're a general in the Minutemen, the highest rank attained by only the most skilled LARPers, we tell the soldiers to stand down and also manage to convince Wallace that the Institute means him no harm. If he joins, he'd have access to the most advanced research facility imaginable. Then Father wants us to record a message to send out to the Commonwealth. We assure them that the Institute has no desire to interfere with their lives if they don't interfere in return. Or else, we hijack the Diamond City radio station, install the Institute tech, send the message out, and when we return to the Institute, we activate the reactor. This buys the Institute unlimited time in the form of limitless energy. With the energy problem solved, the Institute now has freedom to pursue other goals, such as eliminating the Brotherhood of Steel. They hoard technology, and it's only a matter of time before they turn their attention to the Institute's technology. We must strike preemptively. Going in guns a-blazing would mean certain death. This job will require a delicate touch. But before heading to Logan Airport and knocking the Pridwin out of the sky, Father would have us dispatch the railroad. We must go to their hideout and kill Desdemona, as well as anyone else who gets in our way.
Sam!
How the hell did the Institute have trouble with these losers? It's like dropping a tiger in a chicken coop. This dumbass wasn't even looking at me. The Brotherhood will be more difficult. They've set up relay jammers throughout the airport, making it impossible for synths to teleport in. Our job is to destroy those jammers, and then protect the Hacker Synth 2000 while it injects a virus into Liberty Prime, and then the mech will handle it from there. This assault will require stealth. We don't have an army of synths acting as synthetic meat shields, at least not until we destroy one of the jammers. Fortunately, we have several ranks of stealth, and we've got Blitz, so zooming around the compound without being noticed isn't too steep an ask. We did die a few times because a legendary Brotherhood Knight Captain decided it wanted to spawn here, but with the right positioning, never saw it coming. Our best option is to take it slow. If we can't blitz without getting shot a bunch, then we should retreat, wait for the enemies to lose aggression, then go back in for round 2, and repeat. 1 jammer, 2 jammers, 3 jammers. If they are made with fruit juice, they'd be called jelliers. Now that our synth army can relay in, we ascend the scaffold surrounding Liberty Prime, take out Proctor Ingram, and protect the synth virus while it uploads itself. Good news is, synths are a dime a dozen. If the synth virus dies, another one will teleport in to cover the shift.
Time to go,
laser
sir.
vision.
We're relaying to a safe location.
Oh, I wanted to see it. Oh, a better view. Hey, Reverend. All your enemies are dead. Their blood nourishes the soil.
I think I'd like to sleep now.
Oh, you're dying.
I close my eyes. I see my life before all of this. Before the bombs. Everything can change in an instant, and the future you plan for yourself shifts, whether or not you're ready. At some point, it happens to all of us. This wasn't the world I wanted, but it was the one I found myself in. I know the world has changed, that the road ahead will be hard. This time, I'm ready. Because I know war. War never changes.
Fallout 4 without any equipment. It was pretty tough until it wasn't. Perks do a lot of heavy lifting in this game. Your gear probably doesn't matter.